we feel very strongly that every single person in our country, Kashmir should develop, has a voice, Kashmir should progress, is allowed to express themselves. And we feel very strongly that Kashmir should develop, Kashmir should progress, and there should be peace in
Pilot for
Kashmir.
Dev. I just would like to know what are your next priorities, political priorities, and what will be your world vision in the context of growing tensions. I just would like to know what are your next priorities, view on international relations in a difficult context will be your world vision
I've been saying,
in the context of growing tensions. Thank you.
What would be my
your view on international relations in a difficult context that we are
now? I've been saying in all my meetings, China is proposing a particular view, a particular vision clear of the planet, right? And they are China is proposing on the table the idea of a particular view, a particular vision. And one of the reasons they are able to do that, the planet, is right, and because they have become on the table the idea of production. This is something I told the people yesterday. They are able to do that is in the external, because they have become a center of global production office. And this is something I told. But I don't see an alternative in the external vision coming from our side. Affairs that vision requires, but I don't see an alternative production in a democratic environment. Vision what coming the Chinese have basically shown is that it is possible to requires produce effective vision for in a coercive environment. Production where in a democratic environment. You don't what give the Chinese have basically shown where you restrict their freedom is that it is possible to them prosperity without produce effectively in a coercive environment. Where and the challenge for us people freedom is where you provide their freedom, an alternative vision, prosperity without where political freedom. We do production, and the challenge for us is with can we provide and economic an alternative vision. And I think there's a lot of where cooperation that can happen. We do production, the United States, between Europe, under democratic conditions, with political. That's where and a lot of our focus should go. And I think there's a lot of we cooperation that can happen between the United States, the Chinese production model. That is a coercive. And I think that's where a lot of our focus should go. How can we create an alternative to the Chinese production model that is a coercive production model?
Given a very dignified answer to G20,
a competitive vision.
And we have news that Mallikarjun Kharge has not been invited for the G20. Given a very dignified answer by the G20, and that says a lot. And I would like you to comment on that. Mallikarjun Kharge has not been invited for the G20 gala dinner, G20 happening in India, and here we have that says a lot. And I would like you to comment on that.
No, what's contrary about it? I mean, they've decided not to invite the leader of the opposition. It tells you something. I mean, it tells you that. No, what's contrary about it? I mean, they've decided not to invite the leader of the opposition. The leader of it tells you something of India's population. I mean, it tells you that it's something that people should think about. They don't value why they're feeling the need to do that. The leader of what is the type of thinking that goes behind that of India's population, and it's something that people should think about. Why they're feeling the need to do that, and what is the type of thinking that goes behind that.
I was there in Paris to cover with Shorty in France, and the French actually jailed about 1,000 people just so that the event would two things happened at that time. And at the same time,
I didn't realize that.
17-year-old boy who was shot in France. Tried to raise that the French actually there was jailed about 1,000 people just so that the event would still there was a lot of retaliation. And at the same time,
I didn't realize that.
Ministries regarding the same that this should not be brought up, but we were actually talking of freedom at that time in France, and I thought that there was a lot of retaliation should have been brought up. But what do you think the ministries
about
regarding the same that this should not be brought up?
About what?
We were actually about the money freedom at that time in France, and I thought that
yeah, I mean our position on Manipur was very clear. I actually visited Manipur. About what? And I think yeah, I mean our position on democratic was very clear. I actually visited Manipur. Peace between people. I mean, as Sam said, I think I walked 4,000 kilometers. We are very much for that democratic rights and harmony I think there is a sense in people. India. I mean, as Sam said, I walked 4,000 kilometers for that very purpose. And the democratic structures of our country, there is a sense in India, the institutional structures of our country are under attack. And they're under attack from the democratic group structures of people who are running India. I don't think this point is missed by anybody. Are under attack. Everybody they're under attack who has even a little bit of an understanding of India. The group of people who are running India. But of course, there are. I don't think other considerations. This point is missed by anybody. So when I think when you're dealing with India these days, who has even a little bit of an understanding of India, knows this, as you would be well aware. But of course, there are other considerations. So when you're dealing with India these days, there are other considerations which are also important. The democratic, as you would be well aware, fight. And the fight for democracy in India is ours. And it's our responsibility. And we will take care of it. And we will make sure that fight, the sort of onslaught. The fight for democracy in India is ours. And it's our responsibility on our freedom. And we will take care of it. The opposition will make sure that it happens. The sort of onslaught on our institutions, on our freedom is stopped. The opposition will make sure it happens. आप हिंदी में जवाब चाहते हैं या इंग्लिश में? You decide. You ask. Okay, नहीं आप हिंदी में जवाब चाहते हैं या इंग्लिश में? The aim of the visit is to meet our diaspora here, to engage with them, to get a sense of what they're dealing with. The aim of the visit is that's one to meet. The second, our diaspora is here to meet, to engage with members of the government here, of what they're dealing with, other people, and to get a sense of that's one how they're seeing India, how they're seeing the possible cooperation between is to meet India and Europe, how they view members of the government, they think India should be MPs, doing other people, and also giving them a bit of a sense of how they're seeing India, how they're seeing the possible cooperation between India and Europe, how they view India, what they think India should be doing, and also giving them a bit of a sense of what we think our relationship should look like. We can hear you, yes. I think.
My name is Odile Harvey.
Microphone.
For a regional radio in France.
We can hear you, I think.
My name is Odile Harvey. An association, Armor India, which has been started by regional radio and industrialist who works in India for his company. And then when the association started India, which is that association, and an industrialist who works in India for his company, and then when he retired, he started last night that association I saw on bringing on French television wonderful Indian culture program, which is this really good reputation in France. Envoyé spécial. Last night, and they describe all the discriminations, about the Muslims, about the Christians in very cruel terms, and they describe all the discriminations. They can still say about the Muslims,
well, ma'am.
In very cruel terms, and so I just would like to graduate it. We can still see the situation.
Well, ma'am.
I know you're going to France in India. Thank you.
I mean, of course, I would have to see the program before I could comment on whether it was exaggerated or not. So I don't know what that program was saying. But certainly there is an increase. I mean, of course, I would have to see the program before I could comment on whether it was exaggerated or not. There is a full-scale I don't know what that program the democratic institutions of our country. That is, but certainly that everybody knows. And internally in India, it's been commented on, and globally it's been commented in India, and there is a full-scale assault on the democratic institutions. Of course, minorities are under attack. That everybody knows, but so are many other communities. Internally in India, it's been commented on, and globally tribal communities, lower caste communities are also under attack. And of course, minorities are under attack, but so there is many other communities. There is a Dalit communities, tribal communities, lower caste communities are also under attack. The nature of our country. Our country, there is a in the constitution is described as a union of states. The nature of our country. We believe our country that in the most critical aspect of our union described as a union is the conversation between and members of our union. We believe, and there is an alternative vision, which is the BJP vision. The most critical aspect that power should be centralized of our union is the conversation power should be concentrated, wealth should be concentrated, and the conversation. And there is an alternative vision, which is members of the union, which believes people of that India power should be centralized, suppressed. And so this is power should be concentrated, wealth should be concentrated, and the conversation, I like to term it, between the fight between members of the union, between Mahatma Gandhi's vision, should be and Nathuram Godse's vision. And so this is the Nathuram Godse being the person who assassinated our leader. I like to term it the fight between Mahatma Gandhi's vision and Nathuram Godse's vision. Nathuram Godse being the person who assassinated our leader.
They would have liked a public meeting. You know, a lot of sort of people who identify themselves as liberal Indians. Yeah, so there are a lot of believe in the idea of, who had no idea you were here. Indians I'm talking about. And they were like, oh, he's here. We have no idea. Why is there a lot of sort of people? So why do you think it's not organized that? Sort of meet, have an open, if I'm allowed to finish, open meeting to meet all. And they were like, oh, he's here. We have no idea. Why is there no see you? Or so why do you think it's not organized that?
Let's deal with one question at a time. What? Relax. No, 1 second. So when we design these tours, we have a structure. Let's deal with one question at a time. The organizers decide whether we are going to have closed-door meetings, whether we design these public meetings and stuff like that, depending on the length of the tour and the type of organizers decide whether we are going to in Belgium we have closed door meetings, sort of opted for a model. By the way, we're going to have public meetings. Hundreds of people are coming in, depending on the length. Pretty much everybody in Belgium the type of Indian origin knows exactly. So I guess in Belgium where I am, and they've been coming in. By the way, coming by hundreds of people are coming and meeting us. But I think pretty much everybody in Belgium, full-blown Indian style knows exactly meeting in Belgium where I am, and they've been coming and coming by droves to come and see me. But I think we decided that a full-blown Indian-style public meeting in Belgium might not be the best way to do it. I mean, the fact that Pegasus was on my phone is a known fact. I mean, I don't know the details of how I'm tracked, but I'm certainly tracked for sure. I mean, the fact that Pegasus was on my phone is a known fact. I mean, I don't know the details of how I'm tracked, but I'm certainly tracked for sure.
Very loud. Everybody can hear me. All right.
Yes.
In fact, I have heard a lot of speeches before, starting 2014 onwards. I think have been mentioning a very, very important, crisis that is coming up in India. I have heard a lot of speeches before, which is starting 2014 onwards. You have been while you were on your yatra across the country, crisis that is coming up in India, and did this issue actually really come up at the highest level?
Yeah, I did. I met thousands and thousands of youngsters, and all of them said exactly what you're saying.
Did this issue actually really come up many times?
The three, I did. I met thousands and thousands of youngsters, and all of them said exactly what you're saying. Unemployment. Number two, the three huge increase in the levels of poverty. Things they said. And number one, unemployment. Completely skewed income distribution. So few people getting very, very wealthy. Huge increase. And the bulk of people in the levels of poverty being pushed back into poverty. And then rising prices skewed income distribution. Those were the three things. So few people getting very, very repeatedly wealthy. They told me. And the bulk of people the fact of the matter is that back into poverty. India has the highest unemployment, rising prices in the last 40 Those were the three things that. So there is something clearly repeatedly wrong, they told me, with our economic model. The fact of the matter is that it's not accepted. India has the highest unemployment that it's had in the last 40 years. So there is something clearly wrong. So those type of things our economic model. But it's not. I don't think it's the not current path we are on. Economic path there's a lot of sustainable in any way. And there will media support for the government. Consequences and a backlash. Those type of things don't come out. But I don't think the current path we are on, economic path we are on, is sustainable in any way. And there will certainly be consequences and a backlash to this model.
I would like to ask about Kashmir. Yes, sir. What is your party's stance on the current situation in Kashmir, and what step do you believe should be taken to address the ongoing conflict there? How do you view the role of impartial diplomacy in resolving the Kashmir issue, and what would be your approach if your party is conflict?
Kashmir is, of course, an integral part of India, so it's nobody's business other than our own, other than India's business. Our position, as I stated earlier, is of course an integral part of India. So a working committee resolution. Nobody's business other than our own. We can give you a copy of that resolution India's if you're interested in reading it. Our position, but as I stated earlier, is I feel that it's very important. A working committee resolution. The general discussion we are having here. We can give you a copy of democratic institutions, democratic structures need to be protected in India, and the voice of people. I feel that it's very important, defended and protected. The general discussion we are having every single part of India, including Kashmir. Democratic institutions, democratic structures need to be protected in India, and the voice of people needs to be defended and protected, and that goes for every single part of India, including Kashmir.
Continent, and your yatra was called Bharat Jodo, and
we're now having a name change.
Yes, is that happening? Whether
I don't know. You have to ask the Prime Minister.
Of this continent, and your yatra was called Bharat Jodo, and
we're now having a name change.
Yes, these are. I
don't know. I'm perfectly happy with the names that we have in our constitution. India, that is Bharat, works perfectly well for me. These in a sense, I'm to me are happy with the names that we have in our constitution. There's a little bit of India that here in the government works perfectly well for me. But I think these are distractions. These, in a sense, tactics. To me are panic. We of course came out. There's a little the name India. There's a little bit of fear in the government coalition, and it's a fantastic idea because it represents exactly who we are. We of course came out. We consider ourselves to be the name India, the voice of India, and so the coalition. And it's a fantastic idea. The word because it represents exactly who we are. But it's obviously disturbed the Prime Minister enough ourselves to be that he wants to change the voice of India, and so which is absurd. But that's what it is. The word works very well. It's also interesting that, but it's obviously disturbed the Prime Minister enough. We raise the issue of to change the name of the country and crony capitalism, which is absurd. But the Prime Minister, that's what it is, comes out with some. It's also interesting, dramatic, new. Every time diversion, we raise the issue of Mr. Adani. It's curious that and crony capitalism. Just after I did a press conference, the Prime Minister comes out with some this entire dramatic new diversion is diversion tactic. It's interesting. It's curious that just after I did a press conference on Adani, this entire diversion is put into place. It's interesting.
Again, thank you. In view of the COP28, the climate conference in Dubai, what are your expectations?
Again,
and in view of do you think that COP28 is going to be the major spokesperson for what are your expectations? And
well, I don't know. I mean,
do you think that India is going to
I think
be
India has a relationship
the
with the global south.
Spokesperson
and I think,
for the global south.
There are bonds there, historical bonds there that make us. I think India has a relationship with the global south. To the global south. I don't know if we are the spokesman of the bonds there, historical bonds. But certainly we have a relationship with make them. Us on the environment, make us close to the global south. I don't know if as a planet going through are the spokesman of the large transitions, energy but certainly we have a relationship transition in the way we move. On the environment, and I think of course we are environment is a planet issue. Going through for India. These large transitions, energy transitions. It's of course not transition in the way in a country, and I think country where there are environment is a central issue. It's difficult to make environment top of mind. But I think it's of course not issue, and it's very important that we in a country think about it where there are many poor people. It's difficult to make environment top of mind, but I think it is a critical issue, and it's very important that we think about it in a strategic and a long-term way.
Brian Ricketts, representing the European coal industry, and I've enjoyed visits to European coal industry, and I've enjoyed visits to coal power plants and mines in India. Brian, my hope for the future is representing the European coal industry, and I've enjoyed visits to the question relates to coal industry. As China enjoyed visits to coal power plants and mines in India, and my hope for the future is a democratic price for that, I believe. And the question relates to India's economy as China developed very rapidly over the last few decades. How to balance the powers of a market-based economy versus central planning. How would you ensure that India's economy doesn't become imbalanced? So, how to balance the powers
one of the lessons that I learned
market-based economy versus central planning
in my walk, I think, was that there is an inherent and profound wisdom in the people of my country, right? In my walk, regardless of which part of society they're in. an inherent and profound wisdom. For example, we're discussing in the people of my country, right? Regardless of the type of conversations I had with tribal people. For example, we're discussing the environment were far more the type of conversations I had with than I have tribal people, people living in cities about the environment. So there is an inherent wisdom in the people of India, and I'm sure in the people of far more sophisticated people of Belgium than I have. And I think it's critical for us that in cities. In decision making. So there is an inherent wisdom in the people of India, and I'm sure in the intelligence of Europe and people of Belgium. And that's where and I think it's critical we have for a fundamental difference with the BJP. In decision making, we value the voice of the voice and the intelligence of the people. We value the voice of and all stakeholders. That's where, and we want to hold a conversation with stakeholders before we make decisions. It's sometimes slow. We value the voice of the people, but we value the voice in the long run, people. We value the voice of all stakeholders. It works out much better. And we want to hold a conversation and that's really with the stakeholders before that is taking place. It's sometimes slower in India. They're of the view that in the long run, people, it works go ahead and better. And that's really slam the conflict through that is taking place. But in our view, there's consequences in India. They're of the view that you don't need to ask people and the private sector. You just go ahead. We're pretty clear that slam everything in strategic areas. But in our view, the sector should have a role. With regards to education, in the public sector and the private sector, provide a foundation. We are pretty clear in other spaces, private industry, key strategic areas, better tool to achieve. Public sector should have a role. In education, in healthcare, public sector should provide a foundation. But in other spaces, private industry is probably a better tool to achieve.
You've asked 3 or 4 questions.
Yeah, please. Thank you. 1 or 2. Anybody else? Quick.
Very quick one.
But you asked nobody else asked 4 questions. You've asked 3 or 4 questions.